What's up, you guys? I'm back with another video. My name's Grady and I listen to country music on this channel. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you like this video, then like it. And if you dislike it, then I guess go away. Don't dislike it. So today I'm checking out Dierks Bentley's new album, The Mountain. And when I say checking it out, not really checking it out. I've listened to it like 5 times. I'm reviewing it. And so I want to say at the front of this video, I actually talked to Dierks Bentley to help prepare some like publicity materials when this album was coming out. So I interviewed him back in like, I don't know, January. I talked to him. So at Entertainment Weekly, we had a rule that if you had talked to an artist within the last like 3 years, you weren't allowed to review any of their work. I'm obviously not at Entertainment Weekly anymore, nor do I have the budget, nor do I have the staff of Entertainment Weekly to make rules like that. So I just wanted to be forthright and say that. Hey, I could have a little more budget if you would buy, I just thought of this. I haven't been mentioning it, but I have my own beard oil now. I've been working on developing a beard care company for a while, and it's called Stash Grooming Co. This is our first product. If you do want to support the channel and maybe give me a little more budget to work with, check this out. But no pressure. Let's check out this Dierks Bentley record. You guys have been commenting a lot, asking me to listen to it. A few of you have said I look like Dierks Bentley. And generally, going into The Mountain, I was excited because it's kind of like my aesthetic. You know, I have mountains painted back there. I have the wolf. I have the little bear, Gideon, over on my back, on the back of my sofa thing over here. And so this is a record that I kind of was primed to like. And then talking to Dierks, he's a delightful person. And I really wanted to go into this record liking it. And I absolutely did. It is such a good record. I don't know that you can ask for much more in a big A-list mainstream release. If you see me looking down, I have a bunch of notes here that I've taken on this record. So, this record is coming off of Black, Dierks Bentley's record from maybe 2016. That was a much sleeker, sort of urban feeling, not urban like hip-hop music, but urbane record. And it was not very much for me. You know, I'm much more a fan of kind of up on the ridge Dierks. He's from Arizona originally, and he has this kind of mountain side to him. And I think when he taps into that, it's much more compelling to me than kind of the pop country stuff. But Dierks has always tried to play the game of doing the right things to stay in the mainstream, and but then making records for him too. And I think even releasing singles like Riser right into a song like Somewhere on a Beach is indicative of that, and he's self-aware, and that's what I like on this record. So, The Mountain. This record is was recorded out in Telluride, and you can feel the kind of Colorado influence on this. It doesn't feel like a record that was made in Nashville. There's not a lot of snap tracks. There's not a lot of kind of glossy production that feels like it's trying to be disco or overly pop or anything like that. This is a much more acoustic record. Has real texture on it. It's not the gloss that was on Black, and it feels like kind of almost, I think, what we were all expecting Justin Timberlake's Go West record, Man of the Woods, to sound like. We kind of all thought, oh, that's gonna feel like rooted and rockin' and cool and tough and Dances with Wolves-ish, and it didn't at all. It was a super glossy pop record with a couple sort of folksy country things on there. This, on the other hand, I think really delivers on the promise by which it was sold. It does have that kind of Colorado feel. There's a lot of banjo on this record. There's a lot of electric guitar, but there's a lot of acoustic guitar too. You hear mandolins on there, sometimes fiddle. I wish pedal steel, but I'm all into kind of atmosphere. Always, I love the atmosphere pedal steel adds, and this record's a lot more grounded than that. So that's not really what it was going for. The Mountain is an album about contentment and restlessness simultaneously. I think Dierks is finding himself, you know, now in his, I don't know how old he is, I think in his 40s, and he's married and has kids and loves his life, but he's also been out on the road for a long time, and there is a wild side of him, and those two exist in tension, but not in a sort of conflicted, self-loathing tension on this record. It seems to be coming much more from a place of gratitude. A few themes that I think came through on the record to me. There's this it reminds me, I will say this, of Eric Church's Mr. Misunderstood as a record. A sort of later in career, you've been A-list for a while type of record, but actually just putting your flag down and saying, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, I'm not so insecure about trying to make it, but I also understand how to make it, and I'm going to really be me on a record. And I love that about it. That kind of ease goes through this. So, themes that I thought about on the mountain. I think there's an internal rambunctiousness that starts off with the song Burning Man that's kind of rocking. And Burning Man's obviously referencing the sort of druggy festival where rockers kind of would go out in the middle of the desert. And Dierks is saying there's still a little piece of that in me. That's not who I am now, but that's a part of my soul. And it's a really good feature by the Brothers Osborne on that, because they've got that kind of naughtiness in their husky, deep voices. And I think it's a perfect feature to start off the album. But I think there's also like an appreciation of the stability of his life, and certainly of his wife. Woman Amen, which is not my favorite track on the record, which was the first single. That is a really reverent song to his wife, as is another reverent song, My Religion, which is maybe a little bit locationally confused. That song starts off on the L train, but then it's also kind of about Colorado, so it's okay. That's my one like little nitpicky songwriting snafu on this record. But it is about it's a kind of like sexy, jazzy piano that he's singing over, but he's saying like loving you is my religion. And so he's very reverent toward his wife. He's also appreciative of nature on this record. A lot of it is about just taking in the scenery. The song Living that we're listening to right now is a good example of that, where he walks outside at 6 a.m. and he finds the scenery breathtaking and is happy to be alive. And that's an earnestness that sometimes I think people roll their eyes at in music, and I think it's silly. And I think Dierks delivers this with such that kind of laid-back, comfortable gruffness that is intrinsic to his voice, that it kind of maybe cuts through what some people might say is a cheesy appreciation of just being alive and nature. I also think Son of the Sun, and it captures that same... I'm going to talk a lot about Son of the Sun on this record because, to me, it's my favorite song. Spoiler alert. And but I think it's also capturing that there's something beautiful about being out in the West. And obviously he's in Colorado when recording this, and it's very inspired by Colorado. But he's from Arizona, and you can see how being used to the mesas and the deserts and all the kind of beautiful painted landscape of the western half of the United States would inform that sort of natural feeling that he has toward the West. So, I've said there's an internal rambunctiousness and this wildness on the record. An appreciation of his life and his wife and nature. And then I think there's also a very self-aware understanding of his place in the world and in music. I think on How I'm Going Out, which is the album closer, it's a really interesting song, kind of directly about his place in the music industry. And it's like, when I stop having something to say, I don't want to be one of those guys that's sticking around and going out on a low note. I want to go out making great things. And when I no longer am making great things, then I should be done. But I'm going to go out giving it everything I have the whole time. And sort of a promise almost to his fans and to himself that he's going to pursue quality. And I think that's really beautiful. That's coupled with a song called You Can't Bring Me Down. And this song could be about a lot of things, but something that I've heard in some of the lyrics, and I have them pulled up, so I'm going to pull them up really quick. I don't know if this is about the music industry, but it seems like it might be. I'll be the first to say I've made some bad decisions. I've been a little too quick to call the kettle black. So maybe he's someone that has kind of put down some pop country guys or something, and he's done that stuff himself. And he's like, but it's true what they say about forgiveness, and once you find a man, there ain't nothing that can hold you back. And he says, you can wrap your words like rocks around my ankles. Like, it's like, you can say what you want about me, and there might be some truth in those, but like, I know who I am, and this is the record I'm making. So I think there's really a self-aware sense of his place in the world, and it is both big, and it's also not that big. So I don't think he comes across as self-important on this record at all, and that humility is really nice to listen to. Just because I think we sometimes look to musicians that have a little more swagger, or to be completely depressed and hate themselves to such an extent that we're just watching them bleed. And this is a really interesting kind of like comfortable dad-ish, if I can say that, vibe, but delivered really excellently. So all of that, as I'm articulating right now, those themes that I've said, to me, they add up into this comfortability with being on the move and stable at the same time. And the mountain captures that paradox to me in a way that a real mountain does. A real mountain is in some ways completely breathtaking and incredible. But it also represents just something that's there. sort of mundane if you don't think too much about it. And I think this record lyrically is capturing a similar kind of paradox where, you know, Dierks can look at his life and think, I'm on the move, I'm going everywhere, I'm always traveling, my life is, you know, making music and being wild and going out on stage, but then it's also being a dad and being a husband, and it's really about, I think, having found the balance between the two, and I think that makes it really great. Stranger to Myself and Travelin Light both really capture that. Stranger to Myself reminds me of the Brothers Osborne song, I Don't Remember Me Before You, where Dierks is looking back at old photos and saying, gosh, I don't even recognize that guy with the big hair and the silly clothes. I'm a stranger to myself, and I wouldn't go back to that life because I like who I am and where I am now. And similarly, Travelin Light is about how instead of carrying your past around, Travelin Light, letting go of the demons. And it's a collaboration with Brandi Carlile. And it's so interesting, the juxtaposition of their voices, because she has that kind of natural, almost yell in her voice. And he just has that natural kind of very laid-back, conversational delivery. And it represents to me, that dichotomy of their voices, the ways in which you gotta yell down your past and say, like, I don't want these demons here anymore, and the ways in which you ultimately might come to a place of just comfortability in your own skin. And I think they do a really good job of bringing that to life. And it's funny that, like, someone that's not a country artist kind of has the country song on this record, but that's got that kind of bluegrassy party vibe to it. Let me talk a little bit about the music. Dierks' voice is awesome. It's kind of got that graveliness, which I have said, and I think the songwriting on this record really is top notch. I've pulled up a few other lyrics, so if you see me clicking around, that's what I'm doing. But this is a record that has awesome first lines. I think Dierks must really care about having a good first lyric on a record, because a lot of them are. We'll start with that one I said from You Can't Bring Me Down. You can try to wrap your words like rocks around my ankles and push me off a bridge in a hope that I might drown. What an evocative way to start that. And then we've got on Travelin Light, I used to carry my past like a duffel bag. I freaking love that lyric. That is such a good, concrete way to describe how we might carry memories with us. Because a duffel bag, what do we fill it with? Just shit. Just stuff. I have one right here. I don't even know what's in it. Headphones, a towel, beard balm, stuff. I don't know why I carry that stuff around, but I do. But that is the way we sometimes carry our past. It's like, oh, I just gotta carry this around with me. Anyway, I just love that one little line, duffel bag. I'm such like a songwriting dork. That makes me so happy to hear a word that I don't usually hear, duffel bag. Doesn't that amuse you? It amuses me. On The Mountain, which is the title track, I bet my soul on a 6-string gamble, and I climb like hell through the brush and the bramble. Dude, it is fun to hear the word gamble and to hear the word bramble and to hear them rhyme. But that idea of I bet my soul on a 6-string gamble, that's what he's saying he's done in his career, and that sums up so much. I bet my soul on this idea that I could play music on a guitar and people might listen. And it worked, and it's been a struggle. Awesome lyric. And then the opening couplet of my favorite song on the record, Son of the Sun. There's a cactus flower out there, somewhere out there, that knows my deepest thoughts. There's a tumbleweed inside of me that's never gonna stop. That is so... I love that idea of just hearing cactuses, hearing tumbleweeds. It's capturing the scene that he's in. Good music is onomatopoetic in that way. It should feel Western, the words should be Western, and the whole sound of the record should evoke this image. And I feel like I'm out there with him. This song is bright, and it is sunny. So I really respect the songwriting and production on this record. We've got a lot of John Randall, we've got a lot of Ross Copperman, we've got a lot of Arturo, how do I say his name? Arturo Buenahora. Yeah, there's and a lot of great songwriting on this, even people that I'm not always very complimentary of. I'm someone that really enjoys hearing self-loathing in artists. I really like sort of depressed people. And as I've said before in this review, this album is much more positive than that. But I think what makes it better than just a record that's saying, I'm hopeful, I'm positive, things are good, and I like my life, is that it's tinged with a sort of past darkness. happiness doesn't mean anything if there's not a sadness in which it's in reaction to. You have to have dark to have light. And I think what makes The Mountain a good record is that it acknowledges a harshness of past. It acknowledges a former self. And that makes the present that much sweeter. And so to me, it's a really, really balanced, well-written record. There are a few songs on here that I don't love. They're probably the two that are going to radio. Goodbye and Telluride, to me, is the most kind of obvious radio play on this. But I actually don't think it's like the best hook. But it just, to me, feels it's the one that I would skip on the record. Woman Amen, I don't love the sound of. And One Way is an interesting record. It's the word way is in it too much for my taste. So that said, there's not a bad song on the record. None of those are fundamentally bad songs at all. And a lot of records, there are songs you're just like, that's just not good. That's a testament to the quality of this record. And I really like that it was captured in a short period of time out in Colorado. It seems like that might be part of the secret of making a good record is recording it in a short window in a moment of inspiration. And I'm glad Dierks Bentley leaned into that. I give this record 8 out of 10 beards, if not 8.5, somewhere in there. It's one of my very, very favorite releases of the year. I think it should be on a bunch of Album of the Year nomination categories at the CMAs and at the ACMs. And it should be on year-end lists as well, because this really is an achievement. It's not easy to make a big, great record in mainstream country music. So what do you guys think of this record? Let me know what your thoughts are on it, and I'd love to hear those in the comments. Are you as moved by this record as I am? I think it's really excellent. I want to do something else at the end of this video that I did for my Eric Church video, just because I think it's fun, and I want something on this channel to be different than a lot of the other channels on YouTube. And one thing that I really enjoy doing is always ranking songs on a record from my least favorite to my favorite. And so I'm going to do that with this. I have all of these written out on little pieces of paper that I have been sort of moving around as I have been listening to this record more. So I'm going to go through that, try not to take a long time, and it would be fun to hear what your thoughts are on this. So number 13 for me, Goodbye and Telluride. I already talked about that. Number 12, Woman Amen. Nice song, but I don't like the whoa chorus. Or I wish they would have done it louder or rougher or something. It just feels too vanilla. One Way, it's okay. A little forgettable to me. Nothing On But the Stars. This feels like maybe it could have been on Black. It's a lot sexier. I mean, it's literally about being naked and having sex under the stars. But it works. I think it's like a pretty sexy song. And on an album like this, where it's called The Mountain, we're out in the woods, I get it. And it reminds me of that really good Civil War song on their second record, Let's Let the Stars Watch. Whatever that song is. That song's sexy. Living. That song's gosh, it's a testament to how good this record is that song is so low on my list. But I really like the song Living. He's Happy to Be Alive. It just maybe, compared to some of the other things, it could feel, I guess, a little bit cheesier than others. But taken on its own, if that came on the radio, I would crank it and be like, I love being alive too. It reminds me of Darius Rucker's All Right in that way. Next song is Burning Man. I feel it's a really smart album opener. It keeps the identity of Dierks tough, whereas a lot of this record might feel a little more tender. And it's the next single, so maybe after Woman Amen, he wanted his man card back, so he's putting out Burning Man. But I think it works. I like the wildness of it. The Mountain, the title track, is right there in the center for me, and it as the number 7 song. This is a really solid song about moving through life, climbing a mountain, taking one step at a time. That whole hook of it's only a mountain, I think that's really clever and funny, but also hopeful. So I like that song. My Religion is my number 6 song. This song is, it's just a really pretty song. Like I said, I don't think it makes a ton of sense lyrically. It's like, we're in New York, but then this Colorado's got me high. But maybe that there's some like romance and just kind of being lost in the world. But I don't know where I am, but I know I love you. Is that being generous? It's being generous. But it's a really freaking pretty song, okay? I like it. You Can't Bring Me Down. This song is awesome, and it's resolute, and I think it's got a really good hook, where it's like, I'm going to turn up, I forget what all the words are. I'm going to turn up the volume, I'll turn up a cold one, and you can't bring me down. It's a better use of up down than that song. Up down, up down, up down. How I'm Going Out. That's a really beautiful album closer and really a pretty big statement to make as an artist that I care about my what I'm putting out in the world and how I go out, and I want to do it strong. I really respect that. Thank you for respecting me as a music listener and not saying like I'm gonna star in a Bowflex commercial and sell you my crappy like 15 3-package greatest hits commercial. I appreciate that. My next song, I'm not just reading these. My next song is Travelin Light with Brandi Carlile. I really appreciate. I'm a huge fan of songs that allow you to leave your past in your past. Everyone is changing. I can't promise you I'm going to be the same person 15 seconds from now. And I don't like when people are held accountable for things in their past. Not to say that they don't have to linearize those and make sense of them and sometimes explain them, but I really like songs that let people continue to move forward. And I want people to travel light. I want to judge others on the people that they're going to become, not the people that they were. And that song represents that to me. The next song, Stranger to Myself, is another song in that same vein. This is my second favorite track on the record. Heather Morgan, who's a co-writer on it, can be heard doing the vocals. It sounds almost out of Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour to me. It really breathes, and it's sweet, and it's this kind of ethereal, gorgeous song that's full of wonder of like, who is that person? I don't even recognize him. And I think they capture that super well in this song. And my number one track on the record is Son of the Sun. It's not like some big song where he's throwing down the gauntlet and saying, this is who I am. And it's not some song where he's picking a fight. And it's not some like big dramatic last closer of the album. To me, it is the best synthesis of all of the themes of this album. Of wanting to move, but also being appreciative of your wife and your family and your life. Let me just like read a couple lines from this. I want to look down on a valley where the river splits the stone and let the great wide open wide my soul. I could never live without you. I always come back to you. That's his wife. But sometimes I need to catch the wind and go howl at the moon. It's like I love you and I need space. And I'm tame, but I'm wild. It's just such a cool balance, and it breathes, and it's bright, and it's lovely. And I mean, listen to this opener. It has that kind of free and easy about it vibe, or like Shotgun Rider by Tim McGraw. Just like something that it feels pleasant. That's what it is. Cactus flowers and tumbleweeds, and I love it. I love it. But holy crap, I've been talking about this album for 24 minutes. Guys, I will try to edit this down, but if I can't, I don't care. You could have clicked off whenever you wanted. This is what I do when I'm passionate about music, and this is why I'm enjoying making this channel with you guys, because you guys are passionate about music too, and you say really smart things in the comments, and there's just not many places to talk about music with people. I don't have that many people like this in my real life, and so I like doing it here, and I like talking about country music on YouTube, because I really think this might be one of the smartest like communities of music fans I've ever talked about stuff with. So this is right there near the top of my list, and I gotta shut up and I gotta go to dinner. I'm genuinely gonna be late to a dinner with my friends. Woo! Guys, this is from Too Hot of Lighting. Okay, now we know it's time to go. Goodbye, y'all. Until the next video, farewell.